Hey, what is going on? It is Crypto Bobby. Hope you are having a great day, great night, wherever you're watching or listening in from. Today, surprisingly, in what seems like the first time in forever, you have a nice green day in your portfolio. If you are long in the crypto markets, Bitcoin is up over 12%. The entire cryptocurrency market is up about $15 billion, up 12% as well. Basically, everything for better, for worse, kind of mirroring where Bitcoin is. So a nice day in the marketplace overall, and a lot of different stuff to talk about in today's episode. A lot of exciting things, I think. Number one, just talking about the Bitcoin price action. Two, Amazon making a kind of a continued move into the blockchain space as a whole. They had two nice announcements as far as providing technology on Amazon Web Services, which is really the premier cloud solution in the world as far as running software, running systems, running businesses. So Amazon continuing to move down the blockchain route with two major project upgrades that have gotten some really nice feedback so far. Consensus Invest happened yesterday, which is probably the biggest suit and tie conference in the crypto land. Talk a little bit about that. Had a chance to go to a happy hour after party and watch some of the streams from that yesterday. And then also want to talk about Steemit. Steemit laying off 70% of their staff due to the crypto downturn. What does that mean in general? Is this something you're going to see from more projects as a whole? And what does that really just mean for the industry in general? And then we can talk a little bit about UBS coming out saying, or an analyst from UBS basically coming out and saying, hey, I'm here to bury Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is full of crap. So we'll talk about all of that and more. As far as things go today, again, summarizing with where we are in the market, pretty much a green day across the board. Traditionally speaking, at least recently, when Bitcoin goes up, the rest of the market goes up alongside with it, plus or minus some small deviations. But Bitcoin up, the rest of the market in the green as well. The big number, at least what a lot of people are looking at, I think recently, when you have Bitcoin was that $4,200 mark that looked like previously support turned into resistance at the $4,200 mark. We are currently above that. We're over $4,300 for a little bit of time, but I'd like to see Bitcoin as a whole stay above $4,200. I don't know where this will be as of the time of publishing that, but I think that is a key number to watch, is if we can again flip that to turn $4,200 to support, or is this just a little bit of a dead count bounce? It remains to be seen. What am I doing personally as far as the market goes? I haven't really switched my strategy up at all. I want to see what happens with the 4,200 at this point in time. I still have about 35% of my kind of crypto investing dollars sitting in cash in case we do dip. In case this does turn out to be a dead cat bounce and we do dip lower, I'm not just going to YOLO in right now, but depending upon how this ends up shaking out, if we can hold above that, I might consider putting more of that cash back into Bitcoin if we might see a continued long-term run. But as I said, going to continue with that 35% of my holdings in cash right now in case this does turn out to be a dead cat bounce and we are heading back to the mid 3,000s, and then that's an opportunity to play that range again. Now, talking about Amazon, this came out today. I think Amazon has just a big technical conference that's going on. They announced two different blockchain products that are happening, one of them being Amazon Managed Blockchain, and this is a solution, fully managed service to essentially manage the managed tech built on Hyperledger as well as on Ethereum as well. And then they're also launching Amazon QLDB, which is also for immutable verified ledgers that I believe is a little bit more centralized in nature. But if you're looking simply for immutable databases, this might be a pretty solid fit as well. But when I'm looking at this as a whole, I know just talking to a couple different software engineers, I myself am not an engineer, but talking to a couple different engineers, they're pretty excited about this as a whole. I think it is, has some interesting implications. From a broader sense, Amazon is one of the more valuable companies in the world, and the fact that they do see value in distributed ledger technology, in Ethereum and Hyperledger, I do think that's a positive sign for the industry. I mean, Amazon is going ahead and advancing those applications. I know people are excited about seeing what happens with that. So I do think that this is a positive sign for the industry as a whole, and it's not something that you really want to just shrug off and say like, whatever, it's not that big of a deal. Anytime you have Amazon, Microsoft, the bigger companies out there launching these solutions that allow people to leverage this technology, I do think it is a clear sign that there really is interest in the world in it. Does that have any type of implication on prices? Probably not. Maybe a little bit because the market is rather inefficient. But from a real hard stance, does that have any implication on the price? Probably not. But I do think, for me at least, it is exciting to see a continued justification of this technology as people are looking to leverage some of these solutions in the long run. Consensus Invest. So I myself am based out in New York. Consensus Invest is kind of an offshoot of CoinDesk's Consensus Conference. And this is the quote unquote, if you're listening on the podcast, I'm putting up my Dr. Evil hand quotes. It's the institutional version of Consensus. It is, and again, institutional, I tweeted this out today. Institutional is probably the most overused word in crypto right now. Everybody is making these announcements that's like institutional grade products, this institutional, that institutional. Institutional is super overhyped. But like, as far as Consensus Invest goes, this is the suit and tie Wall Street crowd conference. And I had a chance to listen and stream a lot of the conference. So I watched a good amount of it. I thought that it was relatively interesting, and then I also had a chance to attend a happy hour that somebody that attended the conference was hosting. Enjoyed that. As far as the overall sentiment this year in comparison to last year, it's a more sobered sentiment, I think. Last year there's a lot of hype around whether it's tokens, whether it's this is a new asset class as a whole, and there's going to be all these token economies and things like that. A lot of that hype has died down, and I think we're at the phase of really building hardcore infrastructure that will allow this industry to kind of materialize into what a lot of people hoped it would be. Last year, at least in my opinion, 2017 was mostly talking about what could be, and now we realize in some cases what can't be, and we also realize what needs to be built and what actually needs to come to fruition for this industry to take off, be it in adoption, be it in investment dollars, whatever it might be. It was rather there was definitely a difference between last year and this year. And even talking to some people too, I think a lot of maybe the people that are the quote unquote retail investors in the space, or just like the retail participants, you might look at some of the larger investors and think about these big bad institutional players, these big crypto funds, whoever it might be, these like big personalities. I got a chance to talk to a decent amount of them yesterday. I have a lot of friends that came into New York City that might be managing a lot of money in the crypto space, or have a big presence in the space. And outside of today, I don't think that everybody is like just blows off the massive drop in the space. You might be feeling really down about the crypto prices. That is the same sentiment for a lot of these big quote unquote institutional investors, crypto funds, whatever it might be. These people managing a lot of money. It is kind of funny to think, as far as like the retail investors reaching out, like really down in the dumps, things like that, either capitulating or close to capitulation. The big money, the smart money, they don't feel too good about a lot of this stuff either. A lot of them have gotten absolutely hammered in these markets, probably more so than retail, but you'd expect them to maybe brush that off. Not always the case. So just know when the market crumbles and you feel like shit, sometimes you're not the only one out there. Not that that's necessarily consolidation, or that's necessarily consolation for losing your money. I just wanted to let you know that as far as talking to some of the bigger players in the space, seemed like they were as down in the dumps about the crypto prices as a lot of other people, which I kind of got in the back of my mind a little bit of a chuckle at, a little bit of a laugh at, because here I am, dumb Bobby Joe Schmo, and thinking like, okay, I just got to weather the storm, make it through here, and we'll see what happens. They seemed a little bit more upset about it than some of them seemed a little bit more upset about it than I did, which I wasn't necessarily expecting. And going to that point too, so Obviously, the crypto markets, I mean, we're not stupid. We've all been paying attention, unless you've been hibernating for 14 months. Hey, maybe you have. Hopefully, you've been hibernating for 14 months and you just woke up from, what do we got, August of or September of 2017, and your holdings are either flat or maybe up a little bit. So hopefully you've been hibernating. But if you haven't been, the market went absolutely haywire and came down all the way back. And so one of the interesting things about this crypto market has been treasury management for crypto companies that either raised money in crypto, be it initial coin offerings or pre-mines or whatever they might be. And Steemit is one that has if you're not familiar, Steemit is basically like Reddit with cryptocurrency integrated. I have a Steemit profile. I post a lot of my I post a lot of my videos and stuff on Steemit. They are laying off about 70% of their staff, which is pretty crazy. And a lot of it sounds like it was due to some treasury mismanagement, perhaps some overhiring. But really, there's an entire video that I'm not going to watch, but it's Ned Scott, the founder and CEO of Steemit, which is essentially the software contributor to the Steem blockchain, and runs Steemit.com, which is kind of the primary app built on top of the Steem blockchain. Now, this brings up a lot of different points because I think there are going to be more companies that are going to suffer from the same fate as something like, something like Steemit, unfortunately, is suffering from, where either they overhired or they anticipated the market would be higher than it is and just didn't properly budget, or some combination of the two. One thing I would say is it's actually at least nice from Steemit's point of having transparency and having the balls to come out and just be like, hey, we screwed up. I screwed up. We're, going through this process, and we have to kind of reevaluate how we're going to run this business and make this a sustainable business. I do think there are going to be companies that are simply going to lay people off, and maybe the media or, maybe some of the like investigative journalists in the space pick up on it. Maybe they don't. But this didn't even get pick up for a number of hours until a couple different outlets started to go live with it, which I thought was fairly interesting. Coinbase, on the other hand, Coinbase laid off like 15 almost like temporary customer support people, and that got a ton of pickup. Granted, Coinbase and Steemit are very different companies in terms of their impact on the space, but I think it's almost more interesting to me that Steemit is laying off 70% versus Coinbase laying off 15 people in customer support that were probably hired because in December and January of 2017, 2018, you had hundreds of thousands of new users and thousands of support tickets that you had to, sift through and clear out on a daily basis. Obviously, customer support in these markets, highly cyclical. Core staff, like I'm sure were affected by the Steemit layoff, that is more interesting to me. And it also goes to show too, like treasury management, how important that is for a lot of these companies, how they can turn either the money that they raise or the money that they have into sustainable businesses. I don't think this is going to be a one-off thing. I am hoping for the best for Steem, and it's something that I use, and I think it's an interesting kind of experiment in terms of decentralization, but something to keep an eye on. And like I said, I appreciate the fact that Steemit and Ned Scott, the CEO of Steemit, builds on top of Steem, were transparent and forthcoming and talking about the issues, because I think there are going to be a lot of companies that just lay off 50% of people, or the company basically collapses and they don't say anything because they either don't want the price of their token to go down, or they don't want bad press, or whatever it might be. So this was an interesting display in transparency, but an unfortunate set of circumstances in terms of mismanagement that you'd like to see would have been avoided. But it is what it is, and it's not avoided, and here we are. Now, the last thing, somebody from Bloomberg tweeted this out, and it is UBS. They released this 2 days ago as a research piece. It was, I guess, on Bloomberg. Got to pay for the report, but one of the somebody from the chief investment office, one of the analysts at Paul Donovan, I believe, an analyst at UBS, published a blog piece of analysis entitled "I Come to Bury Bitcoin, Not Praise It." Now, in my opinion, there is going to be more and more. There's going to be more and more, like, quote unquote FUD as Bitcoin's price either stays in this range or goes down. I haven't had a chance to read the entirety of this, but a lot of this is, in my opinion, like kicking a dead cryptocurrency while it's down. It's not dead, but it's easy to make a piece about Bitcoin now that it's fallen from its $19,000 highs. However, I thought one of the really good things I heard, and this was, I think, Alex Sonnerborg, who runs I think it's, trying to remember off the top of my head if it's Tetris Capital or if it's another firm, but he runs a crypto fund in the space and was short Ethereum at like $600-700. So sharp dude, made one of probably the better trades in crypto all year. But he mentioned, if Bitcoin didn't blow off, Bitcoin didn't have a blow off top from $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 up to $19,000. And 2 years ago, Bitcoin simply linearly grew from $900 to where we are right now to $4,000. People would be ecstatic. That would be a multiple 100% growth in 2 years. People would be happy. They'd be ecstatic. It would be fantastic. But because Bitcoin went up so much and then subsequently crashed down, it's now the easy thing to do is to go pick on Bitcoin, say Bitcoin doesn't work, Bitcoin's dying, it doesn't have value, it's not sustainable money, this, that, the other thing. All I'm saying here is that every time somebody comes out like this, always examine the incentives that they have to either push a message forward, push a narrative forward one way or another way. For me personally, obviously I have somewhat of a narrative. My fake name is Crypto Bobby, and I own a lot of cryptocurrency. So usually, and I work in the cryptocurrency space. I work full time in the cryptocurrency space as well. So my not so hidden narrative is I'd like to see the crypto market do well, and I disagree with these points. What might be the UBS narrative? Why might they want to bury Bitcoin? I don't know. You can figure it out. You can think about it. But it's always important to evaluate where these narratives come from and how they might play out in the long run. The one thing, just summarizing everything here as a whole, with the Steemit news, with the Consensus Invest news, with the Amazon news, I think that regardless of where the industry is going, regardless of where the price of Bitcoin is going, and people have said this and continue to say it, but the fundamentals of the technology are not, the fundamentals of Bitcoin, the fundamentals of a lot of the technology surrounding that, Ethereum and some of the other ones as well, the fundamentals haven't changed. If anything, they've improved. There's been extensive dev work done on a variety of protocols, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the other ones. There's been a ton of work, a ton of positive developments in the space. And I remain bullish on cryptocurrency as a whole. In the short term, do I necessarily think we're going back up to $20,000? No. But when you take into consideration the intelligence of the people in the crypto space working on these problems, the number of people that are leaving tech companies, finance firms that are leaving UBS and leaving Facebook and Google and Amazon to build in this space and to work in this space, I remain pretty positive about it in the long run. Maybe you bought it, maybe some people out there bought it $17,000 Bitcoin, $18,000 Bitcoin, and they have a complete different view about that. And I certainly understand that, because that's not obviously an ideal investment by any stretch. But for me, I'm looking at this as just a long-term game from a tech perspective, from a potential investment perspective, and I'm still excited about where things are going, regardless of the price at this point in time. So that's my 2 cents as far as summarizing all of this together. And again, I'm keeping, as of recording this now, we've dropped again to below $4,200. So I think that's really the number that I'm looking at, is if hopefully we can stay above that. If not, we might be in this $3,500 to $4,200 kind of range bound spot that we've been in for the past few days. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. Outside of that, guys, if you've enjoyed this video at all, would love for you to subscribe, hit that notification button so you get these videos as soon as they come out. Try and be as timely as possible. Thank you so much for your time. Crypto Bobby signing out. Hope you have a good one. Peace.